or describe. And that is called covert emotional abuse. Covert emotional abuse. And it happens daily. These are hard to name. They are hidden, manipulative tactics, sometimes rooted in motive to harm. Rooted in motives to harm, sometimes rooted in defensiveness in order to avoid responsibility. Prolonged abuse of this nature causes emotional and psychological harm, serious ones, trauma and physical illness. A lot of mental health issues amongst women can be traced to emotional abuse. In fact, it is considered one of the most destructive forms of abuse, emotional abuse. It impacts your perception, memories, your thinking ability, and ultimately, in some cases, your sanity. And the funny thing is, it may be mistaken as relational communication problems. But when victims cannot define what they are experiencing, it is much more serious than that. When a person in a situation that is obviously causing great stress and distress cannot define what their problem is, it's much, much, much more serious than that. Clarity is essential in overcoming abuse. Clarity is essential in overcoming abuse. Like the lady I spoke about earlier on, I had to, guide her, lead her into understanding and, articulating what she was going through. And that was when reality dawned on her that she was going through abuse by her partner. And she wasn't going insane, neither was something wrong with her. And remember, in everything I say, it happens on the reverse side too as well. There are men who are emotionally abused. And when I go through some of the things that you should watch out for, then you will, as a male or a female, be able to deduce whether you are in an abusive relationship and you don't even know it. So let's look at it. For instance, unkindness. Unkindness can be swept under the rug for a time. You might overlook it because your partner has a stressful job or is dealing with some other life problem, but you still feel the stress of it. Or maybe you've been tricked into thinking it's your problem and everything that goes wrong is somehow your fault. Your partner may make jokes at your expense or minimize experiences or feelings that are meaningful to you. In the back of your mind, you know something is not right. That was what happened with that woman. Her husband kept minimizing issues, kept making her feel that she was the one in the wrong, as I said. But at the back of her mind, she said she knows she's doing her best and something just was not right. You're not sure how to describe what's happening because you're not sure. So you don't know how to describe it. You're confused. Your stress continues to increase and you cannot conceive that your loved one may be manipulating you. You cannot conceive it. So if this sounds familiar, you may be in an abusive relationship. The first step to healing is clarity. Learning to identify and name the abusive behavior. Learning to identify and name the abusive behavior. If you can name what is happening in your relationship, you will become empowered. Then you can then take the necessary steps to get the help and support you need. Do you understand? So I'm going to go through the list of the most typical forms of covert emotional abuse. We all can act poorly from time to time, but when it's brought to our attention, we are eager to change. So those who have a serious problem will likely become more defensive. When confronted, they may get worse. Do you understand? So when you identify what I'm going to talk about, if you are going to identify areas that you may be the abused person or you may be the person who is being abused, There are various ways you either be defensive and say, no, that's not possible. You either then try to hide it under the carpet, but the fact remains is call a spade a spade. And that's what we are talking about today. Number one, please take your pen. Please take your pen. It's very important. But then again, I'm going to put this on YouTube. My channel on YouTube, I think, is a better place to put these things on, because you can then access it very quickly and easily. On the Instagram Live, it will only be there for a day. And it was when I was asking people, because you see, I can't keep sending the recording. I record, but I can't keep sending the recording as it comes. People keep asking for the recordings because either they come in late and they want to listen to it, or they come in later. So what I will do is, please, if you come in late, you can always listen to it. I'm going to save it and send it to YouTube, okay? Subscribe. Let's have fun on YouTube. You understand? So number one, I said below are most of the typical forms of covert emotional abuse. And you must be honest to yourself. You must identify yourself what it is that may be wrong. Number one, blaming and reverse blaming. That's number one. Blaming and reverse blaming. Defensiveness, denial, or phrases like, this is your fault, are common. The issues are mostly one-sided. If there is a persistent pattern of blaming, domestic violence is likely to be present. Domestic violence is likely to be present. In reverse blaming, the perpetrator may convert the chances or corrections of the victim into being her problem. If you don't stop, then I wouldn't. Or claims that you are too critical or sensitive. Blaming and reverse blaming. Confrontational, or trying to make it seem as if it's your fault. Remember, I see this, although I am a personal development trainer for success, for lifestyle, I have an NGO that deals with just domestic violence and abuse. And I tell you, I see this every single day. It's your fault. It's because it's her fault that she's making me do this. No, you wanted to do it, because all of us have control over our emotions. If all of us react to people's behavior, we will be running crazy people all over the place. So number one. Number two sign, broken promises. Making promises to do certain things or to change, then denying ever making them, is one of the signs of abuse. Justifying not keeping promises or forgetting promises that have been made is no excuse whatsoever. It's emotional abuse. Because when you break promises, or when you deny breaking the promises, you are messing with the person's mind and you're messing with the person's emotions, and that is emotional abuse. Number three, cover-ups. Doing a molehill kind of good cover-up on a mountain of bad, i.e. the alleged perpetrator may volunteer to do good things as of that point in time, maybe at the local church or charity organizations, to make up for the abusive behavior at home. And when that happens, people find it very difficult to believe that the abuser is really being abusive, because to the world out there, he has covered up very well, and they will turn around and ask you, what do you really do? What do you really do? Do you understand? He's a nice person. She's a nice person. It must be you. Am I talking to somebody out there? Number four, crazy making behaviors. Intentionally distorting reality for the purpose of making the victim feel confused or crazy. Do you understand? Typically a mix of passive-aggressive behaviors that are meant to deflect and avoid responsibility. They are past masters, very good masters at making you feel guilty, at making you now begin to ask yourself, could it be my fault too as well? Is something wrong with me? So crazy making behavior is number four. Intentionally distorting reality for the purpose of making you feel confused or crazy. They're so convincing, they'll make you look at something black and tell you it's white. And before you know it, you begin to think, could it really be white or could it really be black? You understand? So number 5, creating a cloud of confusion, telling false and grandiose stories to third parties in order to undermine objectively and manipulate the end result or outcome. It happens all the time, especially if the abuser is a very happy-go-lucky person. And by the time they tell their side of the story and you come to tell your side, you'll be confused. You'll begin to wonder, who is wrong here? So for those who are joining in, I'm talking about, are you in an abusive relationship and you are not aware of it? And we've started to talk about the points that would show you that you are in an abusive relationship. So number 6, deflection. Your partner refuses to your partner refuses to be authentic when communicating. Just refuses to be authentic. Instead, they establish what can be discussed, withhold information, change the topic, or invent a false argument. And it works so well when the abuser or the manipulator is a male, especially when they say, I don't want to talk about it, or you're talking nonsense, or you're not making sense, and switches the discussion to something else. You need to be careful about that. That's a deflective method. All of these deflection tactics makes the victim into the scapegoat and stonewalls a resolution. You just become stonewalled. It just stands there. And it causes confliction, it causes problems for you, and you don't know what to do. Excuse me. And you become confused because as you try to talk about it, there's a stone wall there. Number 7, denial. Your partner refuses to accept responsibility, forget it, by living in a false reality. While denial can be a disassociative, defensive way, when covert abuse is involved, they use manipulation or dismiss that the abuse is happening. They deny that it's happening. It's all a figment of your imagination. You are the one creating the situation. And even when you want to go out to seek help and you're trying so hard to seek help, they'll tell the party, they'll say, there is nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with you. You go and seek counseling. You go for it. Excuse me, forgetting that it takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to tango. And when you walk in denial of the fact that there is a problem in the house, but you decide to just put it to one side, then there is a problem. Hello, everybody. Are you joining me? For those who have joined earlier on, I want you to tell me that you are you getting me? Am I talking, am I reaching you in there? Am I opening up some vistas, some canker worms for you? Am I? Let me know. Are you seeing some things there that you might have overlooked somehow? Are you seeing some things? Yes, I'm getting you. Thank you very much, Chini, because this is supposed to be, interactive. I'm giving you some things. You can talk about some things if you don't understand. Hello, Sadie, where? Yes, I turned my camera, horizontal, because I found that when I tried to put the video onto YouTube, when it was vertical, it had some black edges. It had some black edges there. Number 6, disavowal. Your partner belittles and devalues the importance of his abusive, or her, because I said it could be his or her, of their abusive behavior, as well as of what they think or feel, because they want to avoid responsibility. They belittle and devalue the importance of their behavior. They don't consider it as anything. Don't ask me a question until we finish, please. You understand? Don't ask me a question until we finish. I need for you to follow me. So number 9 is entitlement. Your partner places, hello, dear son, how are you? Your partner has the feeling of unrealistic demands on you based on the belief that they deserve privileges, special treatment, or double standards at your expense. At your expense. They do not value you while their own value is inflated. You know, I keep talking about value system. If you do not know what your value system is, you will be devalued. I had a session this morning with some people on knowing their values and how to get their values right, and how if you do not arrange your values in the right position, you are going to fall flat on your face. You see, the most flexible is the most powerful, but there are certain values, especially 3 core values, that you cannot compromise. And when you compromise them, you will never be happy, whether at work, whether at home, whether in your relationship with other people. No matter what, you will not be happy. Hello, everybody. So that sense of entitlement, that's number 9. Your partner places unrealistic demands on you based on their belief, their own belief, that they deserve privileges, they deserve special treatment, they deserve double standards at your expense. And most times you are the one who has caused it to happen. But that is a discussion for another time, because they do not value you while they value their own self. So how did it get there? That is for you to find out later. Number 10, selective forgetting, selective confusion. It's a form of manipulation that allows your partner to not remember any solutions or problems or promises made. They have selective amnesia. It happens. Those that know about it and are listening in or listen later, they will understand what I'm talking about. They just have selective remembrance of situations as they happen. Let me tell you one thing. They remember all right, but number whatever it is, I think it's number 9 or number 8, they walk in denial. And if they get away from it, they will get away from it. Number 11, false accusations. A negative lie is told to you or about you. These are usually unexpected attacks based on fictional conversations or problems or arguments. The arguments will have a little bit of truth, but they have become completely distorted. They seem to come out of the blue for the purpose of shifting responsibility from the abuser to the abused, so that they appear innocent. I've seen this happen so many times. If it isn't that, I know, based on my training, based on interaction, based on experiences, when I sit down with, couples that are in an abusive situation, oh my goodness, it takes experience not to be sucked in. When the abuser is giving false accusations and they are looking you in the face and the other party is saying, that is not true. And the more you try to defend yourself, the more the abuser, the accuser will detail, my goodness, they can write fictional stories because they need help. So number 11 is false accusation. If you are in a relationship where your spouse, be it female or male, when you are going to talk about something that happens, give such a distorted version to make them feel innocent and you the bad person. It could even be at the workplace. toxic colleagues, toxic, somebody put fabricated, yes, toxic colleagues, toxic workers. You have workers underneath you, something is happening, you as the boss, and you bring the two of them, and you see one is telling such a fantastic story, the other one is saying it's a lie, and you're saying to yourself, now who do I believe in this? What you now have to do is now check the authenticity of the process or the program that the whole thing has been delivered, and you try to find out what the truth is. Some are very good at false accusation. Number 12 is what we call gaslighting. Your partner alters and denies a shared reality to confuse you yourself, or make you feel crazy or doubt yourself. You know how you do the gaslight? They tell you that your reality is imaginary or inaccurate, and that no one will believe you or give any credence to your story. They actually tell you to your face, because in a very crooked way, in a very negative way, they're very sure of themselves. And they have got away with it so many times, telling another story to somebody to make you feel unsure. And then you begin to say to yourself, I can't say anything because nobody is going to believe me. And you know what? Most mental health issues, the foundation is that they can't talk, they can't say anything, because the party has made you feel that if you go and tell anybody about this, you are just going to not be believed. Some will even tell you that you are just going to make a fool of yourself. Gaslighting. Your partner alters or denies shared reality and makes you feel crazy or doubt yourself, and lets you know. That happens all the time. Makes you now even begin to doubt your reality, that were you imagining all these things? Because the brain is a fantastic one. Before you know it, you'll start saying to yourself, was I imagining it? Did it really happen? You understand? Once you begin to feel that way, that's what we call a red flag. Number 13, withholding. One of the most toxic and habitual forms of abuse is that your partner refuses to listen to you, denies you your experience, and refuses to share themselves or anything to do with you, putting themselves first. That comes under financial abuse, yes? Financial abuse. They are stingy with affection, stingy with respect, stingy with energy, stingy with their finances, stingy with sex, stingy with your feelings, your views, your individuality, and your personhood. Stingy. No two ways about it. They're withholding everything that has to do with what will make you feel whole and wholesome. And then you lose yourself, you lose your self-esteem, you lose your confidence, you lose everything about yourself, you doubt yourself, especially if you are in a position of authority and you are there, they are giving you your respect, you come home and somebody is making you feel that, you are a nobody. Nobody, no matter what you are or what level you are, it will affect your attitude to your fellow workers, your attitude to your staff. You may become nasty, you may exhibit coldness, you may exhibit a lack of empathy and compassion. You will set unrealistic goals because you want to show your authority. You want to show you are in control, because in your home, you are not in control. And somebody is telling you that you are full of empty air, you are worth nothing, withholds everything. So you come to your workplace and you exhibit it. If you are a manager, your downline is going to have a problem. If you are an executive, your downline is going to have a problem. If you are an executive, your mates, you are just impossible. And everything that you say, you just want your way. It's your way. It's only your voice that you're listening to. It's only your voice that you are hearing. It causes a problem. It causes division. It causes silo effects in the business arena. Team spirit is zilch. Team bonding is zilch. And at home, you are a shadow of yourself. And if you are not careful, you will take it out on your children. And remember one thing, the children are listening to you, are feeling you, are smelling you, are imbibing your energy. Do not think that you can deceive them. What did you say? Chini, you said habitual what? Anyway, then, so we've got 13. If you have missed any, I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel because I was advised that's the best way. On this, we're talking about the fact that could you be in an abusive relationship and you don't know it? You'll be surprised. A lot of people are, and they don't know that headache, that backache, that everything not going right, unsure of yourself, lack of clarity, you feel that you're not clear in what you're doing, is all a function of abusive situation. Number 8, I don't know whether I should go, is disavowal. Your partner belittles and devalues the importance of their abusive behavior. They don't believe that they are abusive at all. It's you. There's something wrong with you. They don't care what you think. They don't care what you feel, because they want to they don't want to take responsibility. Can you see what is happening? It's all interrelated. So any one of the behaviors repeated in a pattern is enough to be destructive to a relationship. It's enough to be destructive to a relationship. And multiple patterns are terrible, are more confusing and harmful. Yes, it affects everything. Once you are in an abusive situation, it affects you, it affects your beauty. Somebody said your beauty, because it makes you age. When you think, when you are thinking all the time, analyzing all the time, you're not happy, you are not sure of yourself, you are confused. It's going to affect everything that has to do with your health, your well-being, your emotions, everything. You understand? So if any one of these 13 you have identified with more than one, multiples of them, then you are in a confusing and very harmful relationship. Any one of those behaviors, even if it is one and it is repeated, it's enough to be destructive to a relationship. Because emotional abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse is very destructive. As I said, covert emotional abuse is worse than physical abuse, because you do not see the destruction it can have in you. Do you understand? Now, what are the steps to take if you are experiencing covert emotional abuse? Number 1, continue to get clarity. You see, you are one step closer by just reading all these descriptions. You understand? Because some people will ask me for a transcript. I'm going to stop that transcript. Stop frustrating me. Transcripts are there. I can give you the transcript, but you can go onto the YouTube channel to go through all this. Now, continue to get clarity. Read the transcript. Listen to what the 13 that I've just said, because some people may not want, there are different ways. Many people have different ways of getting information. Some are audio visual, some are just visual, some are audio, some are kinesthetic. They are all rounders. You understand? Jesse says, as society encourages it, people are scared of being judged. Well, you have to take control. Our society is man-made. Our society is culture-made. Our society is tribal-made, religion-made. And you have a responsibility to yourself, or else you'll just find yourself in a loony bin or 6 foot under. You have to begin to take control of your emotions and what goes what you are involved with. That is why it's very important that before you go into a relationship, you have a personality mapping. You do it well. It's not properly done in church. You do it well. Look for a good coach. Look for somebody that can take you through that personality profiling. We've told the churches to get people like us to come in at a certain point. It's better to talk about certain things before marriage than after marriage. I have dealt with some couples that when I put them through the serious values test, the serious relationship will test, they have had to move back and decide whether they are going to work on themselves for some time or cut it off, because the eyes can deceive you, the desire can deceive you, but your values can never deceive you. So let us talk about steps to take if you are experiencing emotional abuse, covert abuse, those things that are not seen. Continue to get clarity, as I said. And please, you can always research online. It's not only Facebook or Instagram you should be looking at. You can research online. You can get in touch with me. You can always talk to me or send me your email, connectwithlila@gmail.com. All right? Connectwithlila@gmail.com. Number 2, please journal your abusive behavior. People don't like to write. People don't like to read. Number 1, get clarity. Look at all those points. Do not find any excuses. Look at all those points. And let me tell you, those points don't lie. If 1 or more, you have a problem. If you have 3 or more, you've got a destructive problem. Journal the abusive behavior. Please start noticing. If you haven't, keep a diary, save from your diary and begin documenting all the interactions that feel abusive to you. Notice the patterns, you understand? There may be many. While you may need this data for future reasons, the main purpose is to see clearly what is happening moment by moment, to see a pattern. So this journal will help you to get out of the maze of stressful confusion and give you important feedbacks. Data collection, yes, emotional data collection. Because when I talk to some people who come to me, especially when they say they're jumbled up, they're not clear about their business, they're not clear about their goals, they're not clear about what they're going through, most of the time, by the time I drill down, they have an emotional problem. Only yesterday I dealt with one. Came in, wanted to deal with not knowing what business to invest in. And as I was talking, he says, my husband is cheating on me. I said, okay, that is the problem, because how you see the problem is the problem. So seeing the underlying issue of confusion was transferred to not knowing what to do about her business, whether to expand, whether not to expand. And as we were talking, that came in. So I diverted the conversation back to the most important one and started to deal with it. And I tell you, we are going to get a solution. She will get a solution to her emotional problems, and she will get a solution by that to what she should do to make her business a success. So check these behaviors, check them using everything that I've said, so that nobody will make you feel as if you are loco, as if you are loony. You'll be able to check them, take responsibility. Number 3, how you can, steps to take. Choose lightly with whom to confide in. Oh, please. Be mindful of potential double abuse. Be mindful. This occurs when the people you think are your support system do not offer you compassion. They might condemn you, not believe you, or even ostracize you. And they might even go back to whoever it is that is the abuser and paint the story that you've given them in another way, and you might get home or to the workplace and you now find that there is so much antagonism based on what that supposed support system has given. Confide in a truly trustworthy family member, friend, or a coach. You see, when they say have a coach, have somebody that you can, you have a monthly engagement with, because talk therapy is fantastic. A monthly engagement with it is very good, so that you will feel safer. You will feel safer that this person you are engaging in is not your family member, is not anybody, has nothing to gain but to get you on the right path. Now, if you have gone on to a situation where violence has come in, then get in touch with a domestic violence organization who will listen to you and probably direct you where you should go to. But if it's to talk about your emotional being, be careful who you confide with. Please be careful, because you need someone who doesn't judge you, who is not ready to condemn you, and who can help you to find solutions. Because you must take responsibility for whatever you are going through. Number 4 of how you can deal with covert abuse: find your voice. As you become more aware of what is happening, you will become stronger. As you begin to document, you will become stronger, because you will know you are not crazy. You will know you are not mad. You will know that, nothing, you are not perfect, but you are not that bad. Number 5, identify appropriate intervention. I told you, work with an experienced coach, work with an experienced therapist or counselor who are seasoned at conducting interventions that deal with abuse. It's not everybody that is equipped to deal with abuse. It's not every coach that is equipped to deal with abuse, or every counselor. It's not every one of them. Do not attempt an intervention on your own, please. Do not attempt intervention on your own with your children, or even adult children, with your partner's family or small group in which he's a participant. No, or she's a participant. If your confidence is unable to listen, validate, and support you, just thank them for their time and do not turn to them again. This is the time when your voice and your words need to help you hold on to the truth you have learned from your journal. Do you understand? Number 6, and that is something that if couples are listening to me, should you go for couples therapy or not? Co-joint therapy is sometimes contraindicated, not recommended in abusive relationships. I don't recommend it. In abusive relationships, I don't bring them together. I see them separately, because most therapists are not professionally trained to identify covert emotional abusive behaviors. You must know the therapist or the coach that has emotional, because having emotional savvy know-how is not having abusive know-how. Abuse is not a shared responsibility. So when they try to put the two of you together, like some counselors do, and say, okay, both of you stay together and let us talk about it. No, abuse is not a shared responsibility, please. Abuse is always a choice. It is a choice. It's never a mistake, and it is never the victim's fault. Never. However, collaborative therapy can help support and empower the victim, as well as confront the perpetrator, to have accountability and support efforts to change. There are some situations where actually the abuser really wants to change. Oh, I'm always so grateful when that abuser wants to change, because let me tell you, at the root of every abusive man or woman, there is a problem, a foundational problem from childhood. There is a foundational problem. So they are acting out what they are used to, and they are not able to rationalize it. And if you allow it, it will be made your fault. But abuse is always a choice. Always a choice. Abuse is always a choice. Number 7 of how to deal: be prepared to enter into a controlled separation. Yeah. We don't advocate sometimes that you should, go your separate ways, as break up a marriage, but be prepared to go into a controlled separation during the time of healing. Sometimes it's not easy. Separating serves two purposes. It establishes a firm boundary to show that the victim will not compromise or accept further maltreatment, and it allows the victim to step away to gain clarity. You see, it is harder to identify patterns when the perpetrator consistently adds new chaos into the relationship. So be prepared to experience retaliation sometimes. A controlled separation may help thwart, overreaction while providing healthy mutual boundaries. It is always advisable, because once pain, distrust has come in, it's not easy to flow back into a pattern. The abuser always wants to flow back into a pattern that used to be, not giving the abuse time to heal and time to be respectable and respected. So one has to put it, a controlled separation must be in place. And do you know something? Sometimes when the abuser does not get what they want, they now show that they were never remorseful. Because if you continue without a controlled separation or controlled situation, it's going to get worse. Because once the abuser gets away with it first time, second time, third time, it could become disastrous. So that is what I have to say. Number 7. Number 8. Now, number 8, extricate yourself if you are in a critical situation. If you are in a critical situation and that covert abuse has become physical abuse, bordering on fatality, extricate yourself. If you are in Lagos, you can call 112. That is the DSRVT, Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Unit. You can team. You can call them. You can call my number, because my other side works with interventions. I have that NGO I told you about, works with interventions. You can call us. If you are in a dangerous situation, extricate yourself, number 1. And if you are in a terrible situation, create an exit plan if you can. Have your cell phone, have your numbers, have cash. Be ready, because you are not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to get to that point. But you must love yourself, and if you have kids, for God's sake, you must love your kids. And if you are a batterer, please, 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 there is always help for you, because conflict. You can have conflict without resorting to violence. Violence is a learned behavior, and it's a choice. You can decide to stop being violent. You can decide to have anger management classes. I have an online course at takora.com. You can go there. If you don't want to come to me, you can go there. takora.com, anger management course. Please go there. Abuse is real. Emotional abuse causes mental health issues. Emotional abuse causes serious problems to your sanity. And if you want training can come in. So if you, the perpetrator, I'm talking to you, you are willing to change, there are trainings that we can give you to prevent all of this happening. But the most important thing is for you to accept that there is something wrong. And the last but not the least, couples therapy after intervention. If your partner completes a domestic violence training program, if both of you complete it and you're not experiencing severe trauma systems, this might be the time. After that, you can come to a couple's co-joint therapy that I mentioned earlier. Whilst abuse is going on, co-joint therapy is not recommended. But after they have worked separately on themselves, there can be a co-joint, and it works. Sometimes it works when the person is ready to change. So, as I've said, are you in an abusive relationship? It's for you to find out by those 13 points that I've given you realistically. As to how to manage it, I've given you another 10 points for you to see how you can manage it. But quite frankly, for those who are really, really, really violent, only about 3% are able to change their behavior, because a lot of them don't want to accept responsibility. And when they leave one relationship and try to say it is one person that makes them to be abusive, they repeat that pattern again later. They keep repeating it and they keep repeating it. So there it is for you tonight. I hope I've been able to talk about, August's topic on abuse and violent behavior and the points you should watch out, because a lot of things that happen to us that we say it's something else that happens actually is your emotional reaction to external issues that are coming to you. Your inner reaction to external stimuli that comes to you. And once you are able to realistically identify where these where these internal reactions, negative reactions are coming from, what triggers it off, you are halfway to being there. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's no culture that says that you must stay in an abusive relationship. There's nothing. But once the two of you can talk and agree for help, there's always help available. But you are the captain of your ship. You are the one to steer it well. No matter how successful you are, if internally you are not okay, all the money you have made, all the success you've had will never make you happy. The more you buy, the more unhappy you are. The more you go into serial relationships, you go from one place to the other until you mend yourself, until you go into that vacuum and ask God to help you to sort out yourself. Ask God to show you the way to get out of that emotional quagmire. So, until next week,